Hello Amusement Park Portal, thank you for tuning in to our latest video. Hey, I've got a question for you. Are you a cheapskate, but you still want to visit Cedar Point? Well, if you are, we got the perfect video just for you. We're going to show you how to visit Cedar Point and spend the least amount of money possible. Now, if you're a cheapskate and you want to visit Cedar Point and you're on the fence whether or not you want to go based on, well, being cheap, well, we got a few tips that'll save you a few bucks. So let's just jump right into it. Now, the first thing that'll save you some money is planning ahead of time. When you decide to visit Cedar Point, it can have a big effect on how much it's going to cost you. And we found that the cheapest times to visit Cedar Point are the first 3 weeks that the park opens up in the spring. It's typically early to mid-May. Now, when we say cheapest, we're going off of typical ticket deals they run at that time, hotel reservation prices in the area, and things like that. And the second best time to visit the park, where it's going to be the cheapest, are the last 2 weeks of the season just before Halloween weekends begins. That's a great time to visit as there's a lot of ticket deals, hotel deals, and the crowds tend to be a lot lower this time of year as well. Now, after you figure out what date works best for you, the next step is going to be, how are you going to get into the park the cheapest way possible? Well, we got a few options for you. Let's take a look. Now, waiting till you arrive at the park to buy your tickets is a very costly mistake. The best option to save a bunch of money is to pre-purchase your tickets ahead of time on the official Cedar Point site. A perfect example of that is this current deal that they have going on the official site. $50 good any day ticket through September 7th. I mean, that's a heck of a deal, as typically during the summer, ticket prices on here can average over $80 or more. Now, that's just the current price during the making of this video, so always check the official site as deals and prices are always changing. And another thing to keep in mind with these tickets is, remember, these tickets do not include parking in most cases. And parking is not cheap. It's going to cost you $35 or more just for the privilege of parking your car in the parking lot. So keep that in mind. And there is another way out there too to save a few more dollars, especially if you plan on visiting the park more than once. A Cedar Point season pass may be for you. This is a way to save a ton of money if you plan on visiting more than once per year. Now, there's a lot of different levels of season passes. We're not going to go through all of them. However, we're going to look at the cheapest possible pass out there for Cedar Point and how much it'll save you. And that would be with the silver pass that they currently have on sale. Now, again, always check the site. These deals are always changing. They have it on sale for $99. It's typically $125. Now, this will get you in the park through Labor Day, and it also covers your parking. So that's $35 a visit right there for parking. So if you're planning on visiting 2 times or more through Labor Day, this is the pass for you to save a lot of money. And in addition to that, you also get all kinds of perks as well. A few examples of that would be discounted Bring a Friend tickets, and you can save 10% off of food and merchandise. Alright, after you figure out the cheapest, best ticket available to you, you head on into the park to begin to enjoy your day at Cedar Point. And once you're in the park, the next place you gotta look at to save a few bucks is food and beverage. Now, it's no secret that food and beverage when you visit amusement parks are very expensive. It's not cheap. So we're going to show you a few ways that you could possibly save a ton of money on this. Now, obviously, the cheapest way to go would be to pack a lunch and leave it in your car. However, if that's not your thing, I've also heard a lot of people leave the park and hit up places like the local McDonald's or Dairy Queen to try to save some money there. Now, another thing to keep in mind, however, is that fast food locations near the park typically cost more than one several miles away from the theme park. So while you may save $5 on a combo meal, you're also going to be sacrificing a lot of time to get there and back from the park. So if you don't want to go through the hassle of packing a lunch or traveling outside the park, we got some other ways you can save a ton of money on food and beverage. Now obviously the cheapest and probably best option for you to quench your thirst is to find one of the park's drinking fountains or visit one of the many counter service locations throughout the park. Most of them will give you free cups of ice water. However, just keep in mind these cups are really small. Make sure you ask for 2 or 3 or 4. However, if soda pop and ices are more your thing, we got a few ways where you could save a ton of money by purchasing an all-day drink plan. Now buying just one single soda can cost you almost up to $6. This is where the all-day drink plan will save you a few bucks. Now a lot of times an all-day drink plan by itself can cost you anywhere between $17 to $20 depending on the promotion they have going on at the time. And it's also worth looking into. They also have Cedar Point ticket bundles that'll include the all-day drink plan. In addition to that, you can also add an all-season drink plan onto your season pass. That'll save you a lot of money over the entire season. And if you do have a season pass, you can also add the upgraded drink plan for a few bucks more. That also includes ices, hot chocolate, and coffee. And that can also save you a few bucks throughout the year, especially if you're an icy drinker. Alright, now that you have your drink in your hand, next thing up is you have to worry about the food. Now Cedar Point has a lot of food options scattered throughout the park. However, keep in mind, these places can be very pricey to eat at. We found that it can cost you from $17 all the way up to $23 or more for an average combo basket throughout the park. Now a standard platter in the park is usually your entree and a side. However, you got to keep in mind these do not include your drinks. Now we already went over the drink plan, but if you were have to buy a drink with your meal, like I said, it's almost $6 for a drink, so tack that onto the top of the price of this. And that's where the all-day dining plan could really save you a lot of money if you plan on eating at the park. Now typically an all-day dining plan runs you roughly $35 to $45 to add on to the cost of your day. However, don't forget, a lot of ticket bundle specials on the Cedar Point's official site also roll in dining throughout the year, so always check there first. Now the way the all-day dining works is you can get a meal every 90 minutes all day long. However, like I said, 90 minutes you have to wait between you're able to get another one. And it typically includes the basket where you get your entree and side. Now by using this dining plan at least 2 times, you're going to break even at 2 and you're going to save a ton of money after that. Remember, each of these baskets are costing $20 if not more in a lot of cases. So by just using it twice, everything after that is essentially a big bonus. If you don't think the all-day dining plan is a thing for you, and you still want to save some money, I highly recommend finding a place that has large portions like Miss Keats right here, where they give you a huge portion size. It's kind of like a Qdoba, build your own taco bowl type place. Not only is it a lot of food, it's a ton of food, and it is plenty for you to share with your significant other. So that'll cut back on having to buy 2 meals. You get 2 for basically the price of 1. Now Miss Keats is located in the back of the park, kind of near Steel Vengeance. And speaking of Steel Vengeance, or any of the other large coasters in the park for that matter, you would be surprised that it's not always free to ride these coasters. It could cost you a lot of money, but we got a few tips for you to save a few dollars if that's the case. Now one of the concerns is you are not allowed to bring large articles into the line or on the ride itself, so you're going to have to get yourself a locker. Now prices for the lockers can vary depending on the size. They have smaller lockers, bigger lockers, just depends on what size you need. And another option they do offer is a movable locker all day. You pay one price. Now that price does change, so I don't want to tell you something and then you look it up and you get mad at me because it's not what I told you. That you can move around with you all day, so you're not having to purchase another locker at every single coaster. Now the added cost of a locker is something that can be easily avoided. Just don't bring large items in the park with you. Do you really need to carry that much crap around with you all day? What we try to do is not bring any more than what can fit in our pockets. And another thing to keep in mind is a lot of the coasters at Cedar Point have metal detection, meaning nothing metal can go beyond a certain point in line. Now, a couple of the coasters like Steel, Vengeance, and Siren's Curse have free lockers just before you enter the station, so it's not a concern. However, you don't want to just throw those items in there. What we recommend, I know they're not the most stylish thing out there, are the fanny packs. Not only does this save you the problem of worrying about losing your crap, but it also prevents you from having to get a locker in some cases for some of the rides in the park. And that could definitely save you a few bucks at the end of the day. Another thing these fanny packs are good for is all your loose articles that you do put in a locker if you have to get one. It keeps them all together so they're not spilling all over the locker or getting lost. Again, not the most stylish way to go, but hey, it'll save you a few bucks at the end of the day. Now, the other thing that could cost you some money if you're planning on riding the big coasters is if you don't want to wait in line and you have to get the fast lane. Now, keep in mind, fast lane can get extremely expensive. However, there are some other options and ways around this. Now, the first thing is, don't just blindly buy the fast lane before you visit the park. Always wait till you get to the park and judge the crowds that way. Now, there are obviously exceptions to this. If you're going on a Saturday in July or something like that, but if you're going during a weekday in like May or something like that, you may want to hold off till you get to the park. You may not need it. And another option that the park is now offering is a single-use fast lane. Meaning, instead of buying the all-day wristband for fast lane, you can buy a single-use one that's good on one single coaster. And that could save you a lot of money, especially if you're just planning on riding one of the bigger coasters one time. And along with this one, if you plan on purchasing it ahead of time, always check the official site, as they do sometimes have some bundle packages with Fastlane included as well. Just remember, there are different levels of Fastlane. There's Standard Fastlane and Fastlane Plus. You do need the Fastlane Plus to get on a lot of the major coasters. The Standard Fastlane won't get you on a few of them. Alright, the final thing on our list is for those of you that are traveling from out of town and need a place to stay for the night. Now, when it comes to resorts, Cedar Point does have several of its own resorts right on property. And while they do offer a lot of conveniences and amenities, they are very pricey. So if you're a cheapskate, you're probably going to want to avoid these places. However, if you do find yourself having to stay here for one reason or another, there is one way where you could save a couple dollars. Now, remember at the beginning of the video where we went over the cheapest dates? Well, the hotel falls into that category as well. So if you book during those dates, you're probably going to get a much cheaper rate than what you would find peak summer, for example. The other way to save a few bucks if you're staying on property is they typically have discounted tickets and sometimes even offer the drink plan free for people that stay at an on-property resort. But again, you're paying big money to stay at this resort, so at the end of the day, you're really not saving any money. So the best way to save money here is to stay off property. Now, as we mentioned a little bit ago, hotel prices can vary depending on the time of year you go. However, you're in luck. Sandusky has plenty of options just for you. Now, a very short drive from the park will take you to a whole plethora of different hotels. They've got all types of mid-tier and up, like Holiday Inn, etc. However, you're a cheapskate. You want to save as much money as you possibly can, or there are a lot of options for you here. There's quite a few budget-friendly hotels located within just a few miles of the park, including Motel 6, Roadway Inn, Econo Lodge, and the Super 8. So if you don't care about all the amenities and you just want a place to lay your head, definitely check out one of these chains. You will save some money by doing so. And another thing to keep in mind when you book these budget-friendly hotels is, well, some of them can be a little questionable. It's best to look at the reviews online before booking any room. So there you have it. There's some tips for you cheapskates out there to help you save a few bucks while visiting the park. Or even if you're not a cheapskate and you just want to save a couple bucks, I hope some of these tips could help you out as well. So that's about going to do it for this video. And as always, I ask a huge favor of you. If you could go ahead and look down below and hit that like and subscribe and even that share button, that helps us out tremendously. It really does mean a lot, and we really do appreciate you for doing so. So with that being said, we'll see you out on the midways real soon.